The WNBA just dropped the hammer on Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury, and what they did in Indianapolis has the entire league talking.
And it looked like Alyssa Thomas will be getting fined for doing this in Indianapolis.
You cannot be there chirping with fans the whole game. You cannot be allegedly telling fans DeWanna chose to join.
This wasn't just trash talk or heated competition. This was a complete breakdown of professionalism that crossed every line imaginable. Thomas thought she could get away with it, but the league had other plans. And now she's paying the price in ways that could impact her entire career. The fine coming down is just the beginning of what could become a much bigger problem for Phoenix's veteran forward. Multiple sources are reporting that Thomas violated the league's mandatory media availability policy, but that's only scratching the surface of what went down in Indianapolis. The incident started hours before tip-off and escalated throughout the entire evening, culminating in behavior that has league officials scrambling to address what they're calling one of the most unprofessional displays they've witnessed in recent memory. Thomas's actions weren't just spur-of-the-moment reactions, they were calculated decisions that showed complete disregard for league protocols and professional standards. What started as DeWanna Bonner's return to Indianapolis turned into an absolute disaster for Phoenix, but the drama had been building for weeks. Bonner walking out on the Indiana Fever mid-season was already controversial enough, but nobody expected what would happen when she stepped back onto that court. The woman who was supposed to be a veteran leader for Indiana decided the grass was greener elsewhere, abandoning her teammates and fans right when they needed her most. Reports suggest Bonner felt her role wasn't big enough, that the fit just wasn't working, but let's call it what it really was. She quit on her team to reunite with her fiancée Alyssa Thomas in Phoenix. The timing of Bonner's departure couldn't have been worse for Indiana. The Fever were in the middle of a crucial stretch of games, fighting for playoff positioning, when their veteran leader decided to pack up and leave. Sources close to the team revealed that Bonner had been expressing frustration with her minutes and role for weeks before making her decision. Coach Christy Sides had reportedly been trying to work with Bonner to find a solution, but the veteran had already made up her mind. The move left Indiana scrambling to find replacement production and forced younger players into expanded roles they weren't ready for. Fever management felt blindsided by the sudden departure, especially considering Bonner's veteran status and leadership role within the organization. But here's where the story gets even more twisted. Rumors had been circulating for months about Bonner wanting to reunite with Thomas in Phoenix. League insiders suggest this wasn't a spontaneous decision based on playing time, but a calculated move to join her partner on the Mercury roster. The two had played together before and their relationship had become an open secret around the league. When Bonner made her exit from Indiana, it wasn't just about basketball, it was about personal priorities taking precedence over professional commitments. The fact that she left her team hanging during a critical period only made the betrayal sting worse for Fever fans who had supported her throughout her time in Indianapolis. When Bonner took the court in Indianapolis for the first time since her departure, the reception was absolutely brutal. Fever fans unleashed everything they had, booing her every single time she touched the ball, every time she was introduced, and every time she even moved on the court. The crowd was relentless, and you could see it getting under Phoenix's skin immediately. Signs throughout the arena called her a quitter, a traitor, and worse. The energy was electric, but not in a way that favored the visiting Mercury team. Indianapolis fans have been waiting for this moment ever since Bonner walked out, and they weren't going to waste their opportunity to let her know exactly how they felt about her decision. But here's where things got really interesting. While other players have handled hostile crowds with class and professionalism, Thomas couldn't keep her composure for even a single quarter. She started yelling back at fans during warm-ups, engaging with hecklers in the stands like she was at some pickup game instead of a professional WNBA matchup. Video footage from multiple angles shows Thomas completely losing it, pointing and screaming at fans who were just expressing their disappointment with Bonner's betrayal. Instead of staying focused on helping her team win, Thomas made herself the center of attention in all the wrong ways. The trash-talking incident that went viral tells you everything you need to know about Thomas's mindset that night, and it wasn't pretty. She wasn't just defending her teammate, she was defending her fiancé, and it got personal fast. Fans were getting under her skin with chants about Bonner being a quitter, calling her selfish, and questioning her character. Thomas took the bait every single time, turning around to respond instead of ignoring the crowd like a professional should. Multiple witnesses reported hearing Thomas using profanity directed at fans, making threatening gestures, and even challenging specific individuals in the crowd to confrontations. Instead of staying focused on basketball, she turned into a spectacle, giving Indianapolis fans exactly what they wanted, proof that Phoenix couldn't handle the pressure. The footage spreading across social media shows Thomas gesturing wildly at the crowd, completely forgetting she's supposed to be a professional athlete representing her organization. At one point, security had to step in to prevent the situation from escalating further. Thomas was seen jawing with fans throughout multiple quarters, pointing aggressively, and making gestures that had parents covering their children's eyes. The Mercury coaching staff tried repeatedly to get her attention and refocus her on the game, but Thomas was too caught up in her emotional response to listen. Her behavior became so disruptive that referees had to issue warnings about continuing the back and forth with spectators. But the real shocker came after the game ended, and this is where Thomas crossed the line from unprofessional to downright disrespectful. While every other team in the league follows standard protocol without question, Thomas and the Mercury decided they were above the rules that govern professional basketball. The WNBA's 2025 season media access policy is crystal clear and non-negotiable. Within 10 minutes of the final buzzer, each team must make their head coach and 2 players available. For media availability, it's not optional, it's not a suggestion, it's a requirement that every professional team follows without question, regardless of how the game went or how they're feeling about the outcome. Thomas was supposed to be one of those 2 players, designated specifically because of her veteran status and leadership role on the team, but instead of facing the music and answering questions about her behavior during the game, she ducked out completely. No explanation, no apology, no attempt to fulfill her professional obligations, just a complete no-show that left reporters, league officials, and Mercury management stunned. Sources inside the arena reported that Thomas was seen leaving through a back exit while media members were still setting up for the mandatory availability session. The Mercury coaching staff was reportedly scrambling to find replacement players to fulfill the media requirement, but the damage was already done. Here's what makes this violation so serious and why the league is taking such a hard stance. The WNBA doesn't mess around with media obligations, especially not in today's climate where the league is fighting for respect and recognition. The league's policy exists for multiple crucial reasons: ensuring fans get access to players, maintaining the professional standards that separate the WNBA from amateur basketball, providing content for media partners who invest millions in coverage, and demonstrating that players understand their role as ambassadors for women's professional sports. When Thomas and Phoenix decided to ignore these rules, they weren't just being unprofessional, they were showing complete disrespect for the league, the fans, the media that covers women's basketball, and every other player who follows the rules without complaint. The fine that's coming their way isn't just about money, though league sources suggest it could be substantial given the severity of the violation. It's about sending a message that no player, regardless of their status or years in the league, is bigger than the game itself. The WNBA has been working tirelessly to build credibility with fans, media, and sponsors, and incidents like this threaten to undermine years of progress. When a veteran player like Thomas decides she doesn't have to follow the same rules as everyone else, it creates a dangerous precedent that could encourage other players to pick and choose which professional obligations they want to fulfill. This isn't the first time we've seen WNBA players think they can skip media responsibilities when things don't go their way, and that's what makes this situation even more problematic. Angel Reese pulled similar nonsense after a tough game last season, refusing to speak to reporters when she was unhappy with questions about her performance. Other players have tried to duck interviews when they're not satisfied with their playing time, when they're frustrated with officiating, or when they simply don't feel like dealing with media scrutiny. It's becoming a disturbing pattern of entitlement, where players think they can pick and choose when to be professional based on their mood, their team's performance, or how they feel about the questions they might face. The league has been too soft on this behavior for too long, allowing players to get away with occasional media skips without serious consequences. But Thomas might have finally pushed things too far with her combination of on-court unprofessionalism and post-game rule violation. When you're getting paid to be a professional athlete, part of that job, a significant part, is talking to the media, even when you'd rather be anywhere else, even when you're frustrated, and even when you know the questions are going to be tough. That's what separates professional sports from pickup games at the local gym. The ripple effects of Thomas's behavior are already being felt throughout the league. Other veterans are reportedly concerned that her actions could lead to stricter enforcement of existing rules and potentially new policies that would make media availability even more mandatory. Younger players are watching to see how the league responds, understanding that the precedent set here could impact their own careers. Team management across the WNBA is having conversations about ensuring their players understand the importance of professional conduct both during and after games. What this whole situation really reveals is a deeper problem with accountability in today's WNBA that goes far beyond one player's bad night. Thomas thought she could have her emotional meltdown in the stands, break league rules, and face no consequences because she's an established veteran with years of service. But the league is changing, evolving into a more professional organization with higher standards and greater expectations. Players who can't adapt to these professional standards are going to find themselves on the wrong side of hefty fines, damaged reputations, and potentially shortened careers. The WNBA is at a critical juncture in its development, trying to build credibility and grow its fan base while competing for attention in an increasingly crowded sports landscape. Incidents like this one in Indianapolis hurt those efforts in ways that extend far beyond the immediate embarrassment. When players act like they're above basic professional requirements, it sends the wrong message to fans who are trying to take women's basketball seriously, to sponsors who are considering investment opportunities, and to media members who are working to elevate coverage of the sport to new heights. Thomas's actions didn't just hurt her own reputation or cost her team money, they damaged the entire Mercury organization and gave critics ammunition to question the league's professionalism as a whole. The incident has already become a talking point for those who argue that women's professional sports lack the discipline and structure of their male counterparts. Every time a player like Thomas decides to prioritize personal emotions over professional obligations, it sets back the cause of women's professional athletics and makes it harder for the next generation of female athletes to gain the respect they deserve. The ultimate irony is that Thomas's behavior accomplished nothing positive. Her emotional outbursts didn't help Bonner feel better about the hostile reception, didn't help Phoenix win the game, and certainly didn't help her team's relationship with the league office. Instead, it created a controversy that will follow both players for the rest of the season and potentially beyond. The fine is just the beginning. The real cost will be measured in damaged relationships, lost respect, and missed opportunities to represent women's professional basketball in a positive light when the world was watching.